Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us at the Japan Climate Action Summit 2022. I will serve as the moderator. I am Yuri Okubo of Renewable Energy Institute. Thank you very much. Today, this is after some years that we are holding this in a hybrid program with some of the people here with us face to face. And even if it is beyond the display, some 2,000 participants have expressed their interest in connected, and the organizers are very grateful. As the climate crisis becomes serious, the pandemic is under control to a certain extent, but there is a global crisis of fossil fuel consumption. And therefore, we are interested to hear how JCI member organizations are working on climate change, so please do stay with us until 6 p.m. At the beginning, may I invite Dr. Michio Morisawa, Director, CDP Worldwide Japan, one of the members of the JCI Secretariat. Dr. Morisawa, good afternoon. Thank you for the introduction. I am Morisawa. JCI has been organizing annual events like this in order to encourage all of you to take actions regarding climate change. This year, Russia has invaded Ukraine. In relation to that, there were more opportunities where we were forced to think about energy. As we think about climate change, after all, renewable energy will be the #1 option amongst the energies. If we use renewable energies, emission can be reduced, and we can change to energies with low emission coefficient. Both of them are necessary for economic growth, rather than importing fossil fuel. If we can produce in the country, and if the emission coefficient is 0, to accelerate the use of renewable will be positive and crucial not only for climate change and economic viability, but it is important for national security. In the case of Tokyo Metropolitan Government, they have announced that they will introduce the ordinance for decarbonization by renewable energy in order to strengthen their countermeasures for insulation and energy-saving buildings. It is wonderful. I sincerely hope that other local government authorities will also promote decarbonization measures based on the characteristics of the local community. There are many impacts because of rising emission. According to the Japanese Meteorological Agency, on the south coast of Japan, typhoons are now being born. They remain at a large size and make a landfall. Storm is becoming larger, and every year we are losing lives and houses are being flooded away. And because of the rise of the sea water temperature, marine life is being impacted. And with the rise of the sea level, land use is becoming restricted in terms of procurement of raw material or for corporate offices, suppliers, operations of supply chains, factories. In all these areas, there are impacts which is a risk to the economy. This year, there was a reorganization of the Japanese Stock Exchange. From April, it is now divided into 3 of prime, standard, and growth markets. In particular, for the companies listed on the prime market, they are required to strengthen their board functions or to deal with sustainability-related challenges. This is not happening only in Japan. IFRS Foundation, that establishes the International Accounting Standards, established the ISSB as of November last year. Across the world, there is a rising momentum about the expansion of information disclosures related to climate-related, sustainability-related indicators. That is because investors and banks wish to make their decisions of investment and loan based on how companies are dealing with climate change. That means the investors are encouraging businesses to reduce emission. In order to reduce their emission, There are increasing cases of collaboration between local government authorities or community collaboration or collaboration between different enterprises. So today, the sessions will discuss about these collaborative cases. May I conclude my remarks with my hope and expectation that you will all take even further actions because of this event. Once again, thank you for joining.
Next, we have a message from Governor Koike of Tokyo. So please take a listen. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Yuriko Koike, Governor of Tokyo. I would like to congratulate you on the convening of the Japan Climate Action Summit 2022. This year has also been a record-breaking year in terms of natural disasters occurring in many parts of the world. The effects of climate change are reaching into people's immediate spheres of life. In addition, the energy crisis in Ukraine and Russia has once again impressed upon us the limits of a society dependent on fossil fuels. We cannot afford to wait to make the transformation to a decarbonized society. I am told that today the speakers will discuss frontline initiatives to limit the temperature rise to 1.5 degrees centigrade. The Tokyo Metropolitan Government is also accelerating its efforts toward what we call carbon half, or having carbon by 2030 and a zero emission at Tokyo by 2050. The Environment Security Ordinance will be reviewed in order to fundamentally strengthen and thoroughly implement the policy from the perspective of HTT, which stands for Reduce, Create, and Store Electricity. In particular, over 70% of CO2 emissions in the metropolitan area originate from buildings. The city has set out to create the first systems in the country that obliges businesses to install photovoltaic power generation in small and medium-sized buildings such as houses. Such obligations for new residential buildings are expanding to other foreign cities such as California and Berlin. It is important that citizens of Tokyo resonate with us. We will answer their questions in detail, reduce installation costs, and promote recycling of panels. Time to act. Let us all join hands and decarbonize the world together. I hope that today's discussion will be fruitful. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was the message from the governor of Tokyo government. She did refer to mandatory solar systems with the newly built houses. There will be a session about buildings, and we have invited the mayor of Kawasaki, who is also considering similar ordinance for the city. Now we would like to invite the board member of International Sustainability Standard Board, placed under IFRS Foundation, Mr. Hiroshi Komori. Until March of this year, Mr. Komori was with GPIF, Government Pension Investment Fund. He was very active, involved in sustainability-related disclosure discussions at home and abroad as the stewardship team head, Mr. Komori. Ms. Okubo, thank you for the introduction. As of 1st of September, I have taken my position at the Asia-Oceania office of IFRS Foundation. I am the board member of ISSB. Thank you for the kind introduction. Thank you very much for your kind invitation to Japan Climate Action Summit 2022. Indeed, in this building, I was working on the 7th floor with the GPIF. It is a great pleasure to see you all again, and I am grateful for this opportunity to tell you about the ISSB. For the last 20 years, IFRS Foundation has been developing accounting standards. Currently, this is applied and used in more than 140 jurisdictions. On the other hand, as material issues in terms of short, medium, and long-term risks and opportunities for corporate activities have emerged, including climate change like today's topic, investors are now requesting the disclosures of sustainability information in addition to financial information. Ever since the Paris Accord, because of the establishment of international, global, or regional initiatives one after another, at the moment there are multiple sustainability reporting standards or frameworks across the world. Of course, the increase of frameworks has indeed brought about innovation in terms of sustainability information disclosure. It is positive, revolutionary, but for the companies and for the investors, which standard they should select or adopt, because standards and frameworks are cropping up one after another, which is really credible or trustworthy. I think there is a confusion about which standard to use. And because of this background, IFRS Foundation announced at the COP26 last November that the ISSB shall be established, and by August, 14 board members, including myself, have been appointed. Climate change itself was identified by the IFRS trustees, a public consultation, as one of the most imminent topic. Because of this finding that the climate is the most imminent topic by the public consultation, March this year, the ISSB issued 2 exposure drafts, one for the requirements for general sustainability-related disclosure, IFRS S1, and another for the climate-related disclosure, IFRS S2. These prototypes, you may be aware, were based on existing sustainability standards developed by TCFD or VRF, which consolidated CDSB, SASB, and IIRC. They are developed so that it would be convenient to apply. By the public consultation that lasted until July, the ISSB received more than 1,400 comment letters, and therefore, at the moment, we are doing our utmost to read the comment letters, to think about what could be the best possible standards. Every month, last month in Frankfurt, and this month, from 2 days ago, 2 days, I shall be visiting Montreal. So every month, the board members are getting together in order to discuss the best possible standards. So the viewpoint is this will be a global baseline, and then depending on the needs of different jurisdictions, there could be pluses and minuses. We call this the building a block approach. Therefore, in respective jurisdictions, they can add or reduce so that it be conducive, and then gradually, if they could advance to a more sophisticated disclosure by the company. This is the approach that we are considering. With regard to Japanese businesses, on the whole, they are worried that if negative information is disclosed, Japanese companies are worried that they will be negatively assessed by the investors. But first of all, by making earnings power, and then if you can demonstrate that you can maintain and enhance the earning power because you are successfully managing the climate-related risks and opportunities, then the investors will be very happy to invest in your organizations. And therefore, I do hope that this sustainability standard will be a rule, but please be proactive in adopting and using these standards, and please make use of this in order to expand your enterprise value. We are working very hard day after day, and I hope you will make use of it. But then, disclosure itself is not the end in itself, and therefore, under the leadership of the top management and with the involvement of the board, there should be a bottom-up as well as top-down discussions within the organizations, and I hope that there will be even higher quality disclosure of sustainability information. And after the establishment of the standards, we are prepared to continue to help you. So I ask for your continued support and cooperation. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much, Mr. Komori. There will be information disclosure session later, and we shall hear about local government authorities and companies that are indeed working on better disclosure. Next is the special speech, How Climate Change Affects Marine Life. The speaker is visiting professor of Tokyo University of Marine Science and Technology, Goodwill Ambassador and advisor of WWF Japan. He has a deep knowledge about fish and is active delivering speeches across the world. He is also the Goodwill Ambassador of the Foreign Ministry for Sustainable Oceans and Fish. In terms of the biodiversity, this is a milestone year, so both from biodiversity and climate actions, he shall be discussing what he knows. Sakana-kun, please. Thank you for the introduction. Good afternoon, Sakana-kun, which literally means Sakana boy, fish boy. I am the Goodwill Ambassador of WWF Japan. I've just come up on the stage and I have confirmed that there is sufficient social distance, so please allow me to take off my face mask. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you. Climate Change Action Summit, JCAS 2022. I will talk about the change of the sea temperature, and if the sea becomes warmer, what might be happening in the world of fish and marine life. That is what I will talk about. Please look at this fish. After all, sori, it is the seasonal fish. Sori in autumn, this is the most popular, delicious fish, sori. However, in the recent years, the sori catch is significantly declining. And the reason is because the sori's favorite water temperature is between 15 to 18 degrees Celsius. They like colder seawater, but in the recent years, because of the rise of the sea water temperature, the route of migration has changed. They have to travel at a significantly different marine route, and probably that is the reason of the significant drop of sori catch. And similarly, another delicious fish familiar with us, again, it's rare for us to see it on our dishes at the dinner table, and I have drawn the fish. First of all, sori. So it's about 30 centimeters to 40 centimeters, and this is 35 centimeters. And the typical salmon is also a popular fish of autumn. And again, there is a decline in, it's about 80 to 100 centimeters. So this size is about 90. And the ovary is the fish rose. And this is also declining. This is a Theragra chalcogramma. This is the 50 to 90 centimeters. The average is the 60 centimeters. And rock trout. And this is the summer fish. And it is a popular for fishing people and also delicious. And this rock trout, again, the catch is declining. And not exactly a fish, but this is Japanese common squid. Again, this particular squid, the catch is declining significantly. And the fish type, these 5 species are familiar, including rock trout or Japanese common squid and others, but the common factor for the 5 species is they like colder sea water, and because of the rise in the sea water temperature, they are directly impacted, and there is a direct link in terms of reduction in the catch. Sori, or in the case of this large fish, they are increasing in the colder part, and the salmon will be born in the river and spend 4 years in the sea. But as the water temperature is rising, and when the salmon child are migrating, because the sea temperature is rising, mackerel is increasing, and they are eaten. The baby salmons are eaten, and that is another reason of the reduction of the catch of salmon. And the rock trout, this is not a migratory, but it is a benthic fish. And in the case of rock trout at the sea bottom, they live in the forest of kombu, kelp, and the decline of the kelp means less eggs spawn, and that is one reason why the rock trout catch has gone down. The Japanese common squid, again, because of the rising water temperature, the route of migration is changing, or they have lost the spawning sites. And, or in other words, I have just discussed about the 5 species and the squid that like colder water, and unfortunately, the trend is they are declining, but there are some species where the population is rising. So I shall now talk about some species where the population is expanding. So first of all, like a saikyo, miso, or in terms of sashimi, a lovely fish is Scomberomus nifonius. Usually it was found in Seto Inland Sea. So it is a Japanese Spanish mackerel, and the Chinese character includes the character spring. In the Western Japan, this was a popular fish to be called Japanese Spanish mackerel. However, in Sanriku region on the Japan Sea side, there is more catch. Just like bonito or tuna, they are the group of the mackerel, and they are typical migratory fish. And because of the rising sea temperature, this has caused a change of the route of migration. And for us, this fish is a delicious fish, high quality fish. And of course, we must be happy that the catch is increasing. But it means that Japanese Spanish mackerel is caught, but what should be the price? How should it be distributed or sold? How should it be eaten? Initially, the fishery persons were unsure how to sell or distribute, but now we are seeing the catch of Japanese Spanish mackerel in extensive areas compared to before. And the Aigo fish is called rabbit fish. It's a round shaped 30 to 40 centimeters fish, rabbit fish, and they are the 13 spine needles at the ventral and also at the ventral fin. So there are 4 spines, and here there are 7 spines. So these are poisonous glands, including the ventral fin. These are the spines. So it is considered a dangerous fish. including the ventral fin or the dorsal fin, when fishery persons catch or when we cook in the kitchen, we have to be very careful about the poisonous spines in the needles. But poor rabbitfish, it is attracting attention as a problematic fish because this fish, rabbitfish, it used to live in warm places, but in the recent years, because of the rising sea water temperature, it is now observed in all over Honshu of Japan, and more recently, from the rocky sea, kelp is declining, and this is the rocky denudation. So this is now taking away, eliminating the kelp and considered problematic. The rabbitfish, it has a small mouth, and they eat kelp or kombu. So from this little mouth, you might think it is pretty like rabbit. So the English name is rabbitfish. However, they eat a lot of kelp in the rocky sea. So in Honshu, this was not observed so much, but because of the rise of the water temperature, there are many observations, and the remaining kelp are all eaten away. So they are considered that they will denude or erode the kelp population of the sea, and they are considered problematic. However, if you eat the rabbitfish, again, this is delicious. In particular, in the western part of Japan, there is a way of cooking in Japan, and you want to lick the plate, it is considered. In Tokushima Prefecture, this is an extremely popular fish. I come from Tateyama, Chiba, facing the Boso Sea, and in the last decade or so, this is now caught in a large number. In Boso Peninsula, rabbitfish market value is 0, so it's not even 1 yen per rabbitfish. Even if the rabbitfish is caught, we cannot just throw it away. So it is utilized for fertilizers in most of the cases. It does not come onto the table of our plate. But when I find rabbitfish, I ask the fishermen to give them. I cut off the poison and the spine needle, and then when I take out the organ, whether you deep fry or sashimi, this is delicious however you cook. And I sincerely hope that rabbitfish is a delicious feed, and I hope you will all love.
And so the other one is on the increase. This is the dolphin fish. The dolphin fish is such that you rarely find it in at the fishmongers. And so there may be people that know and that do not know the fish, but only the connoisseurs know this fish. It's very tasty, especially the white meat. And people in Hawaii know it as mahi-mahi, and it's a very popular fish. And this dolphin fish, because of the temperature rise of the waters in different parts of Japan, it's being caught, even in Hokkaido, where it was rarely caught. So worldwide, this fish lived in warm waters, but now it can be very commonly caught in Hokkaido. 1 meter to 2 meters is the length. I did want to draw it, so it's 2 meters. I didn't have enough paper. So I wrote one which was 120 centimeters. It becomes much bigger, and it's very, very tasty, and it's on the increase. And that means that we should get to know it better so that we can cook it in ways that are tasty. In Boso Peninsula, where I am, through the draw nets, over 10 tons can be caught in just one fishing attempt. And it's carried on large trucks. And I was wondering what they do with this large amount of dolphin fish. And that was my question. So I went to the market and I asked one of the staff what is to become of the dolphin fish. And he said, that's for school lunches. And I said, they serve it in school lunches and the children eat it? And so the children will become aware of this fish. No, we don't call it dolphin fish. We serve it just as white fish. So it's circulated and put on the market as white fish. And so I hope that people will use the proper name so people will learn about this fish. And then there is ginkgo fish. It's in the western part of Japan. It was originally found in the western part of Japan. It's very tasty. It's a very expensive fish. But recently, because of the rise in temperature in Boso Peninsula, we do catch a lot of this fish. And this is carried in tanks live, and it's served in expensive restaurants and sushi bars. So we have these expensive fish on the increase, which makes us very happy. There are fish which pose problems, and then there are those that we don't know very well, and then those are some which are expensive, and people tend to rank this fish. But if you cook it in a way which is appropriate for the ingredient, it's really tasty. And here we have the double-lined fusilier. And in Okinawa Prefecture, it's known as a gurukun. That's the double-lined fusilier. And it's the prefectural fish of Okinawa. And this gurukun recently has been caught in Tokyo Bay, which is quite close to us. And this is the double-lined fusilier. And it's on my glove, cotton glove. And it's about 10 centimeters. If it's big, it could become as large as 30 centimeters. And if you deep fry it, it's very good if it's small. And if it's very large, you can eat it as sashimi. It's very good. These are warm water fish, including double-lined fusilier. And the salmon or Alaskan pollock are cold water fish. These are the warm water fish. And they prefer warm waters. The cold water fish are on the decrease, which is a problem. And then you have the warm water fish, which is found in different parts of Japan. It's on the increase. So if you go on the ship and if you fish, or if you deep dive into the ocean, you can see and feel what the present status is with regard to these fish. And with WWF staff, we went to the Shiraho waters in Okinawa Prefecture. The corals, because of the rise in temperature, are on the decrease. And those which were quite lively and very well have some creatures that have the 200
zooxanthellae
has escaped from this fish, and they have weakened, and the water circulates, and the water temperature goes up, and the typhoon rotates the water and mixes the water, so it's more comfortable for the organisms. But the course of typhoons have changed, and the seawater temperature has risen, and so the corals are weakened, and they are on the decrease, and fish that come to spawn and squid are on the decrease as well. So that is what happens. And as was the case with the rabbitfish, these are fish which are familiar to us, especially the urchins, the purple urchins, which are important to us because they are edible. But we have, they are being treated as very problematic organisms. The purple urchins used to be known as very expensive food, but all of a sudden they're being treated as a problematic organism. That is because of decrease in seaweed, and that is caused by this urchin because of the rocky shore denudation, which occurs as a result of that. And I was enlightened on a specific point. In Iwata Prefecture in Hirono City, there is a urchin farm. And the decreased urchins and urchins which are not very profitable are made to become tastier. And there's a area that protects urchins. They feed seaweed to these urchins, so there's more yield. And I asked the staff of the urchin farm, and they said urchins in the wintertime feel very cold, and so they have to be very still. And just like the bears hibernate, they try to withstand the cold temperature. But because the temperature goes up, they tend to eat in different seasons, and that leads to decreased seaweed.
So if we get to know these kinds of things, there are troublesome fish, but those troublesome fish also seem to be in a very difficult situation because of rise in water temperature. They had to change how they live, and they have to eat in order to survive as well. And that leads to decline in seaweed within the sea and other phenomena that we could not see, or we did not see before. Thank you very much for the time. There's a lot more that I want to speak to you today. I would like to study more, and if I may, I would like to come again. Thank you very much for your valuable time today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to Sakana-kun. Thank you very much. That was a lovely pictures and drawing by him. All of you were mesmerized almost, but I have understood that indeed fish will feel and be impacted by the climate change much earlier than the human being like ourselves. And it was a very impressive speech that caused us to think hard.